pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, roll, Atlantic. Flight downside of speed off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.
All right, folks, good morning. You know the drill. Whenever we get these webcasts started, let me know if you can hear the sound of my voice. John Galloway, NASA Spaceflight here. And let me know if you are getting the live feed from Cape Canaveral. That is CRS-21 on a Falcon 9. SpaceX launching supplies up to the International Space Station today. Coming up in less than an hour now. So give me a 5x5 in chat before we get going. I see a lot of people have been here before because they, as our remote production crew, are letting me know that you can hear and see us. I do see a hiccup there, Michael, back in the studio. It says we're T plus 23 hours on CRS-21. Could you check that for me, please?
Forgot to change dates. Sorry about that.
Who's in charge of changing the date? Is that me?
That would be me.
Okay. It's early over there on the West Coast. That's your bug. We are going to proceed with the webcast. There we go. All right. So, y'all out there in the field today, NASA Spaceflight crew is going to be bringing you live launch coverage of CRS-21, amongst other things. And starting it off here, we've got Chris Gebhardt, who has rolled out to the Cape. I believe Chris is at the press site this morning. So, Chris, I think we've got you on comms. Check in and let's see how things are going.
We do indeed have me on comms. Can you hear me loud and clear?
I can hear you loud and clear. Chat, do y'all concur? Can y'all hear Chris Gebhardt out there? Chris, how are we looking? It looks like a nice day today.
It is a very nice day. We had a little bit of a front push through yesterday, which was causing the weather concerns for the recovery weather, but that has pushed on out of the way. I know the weather forecast was about a 60%. I believe it was about a 60% chance of an issue of good weather today.
Right.
With the main concern being thick clouds, like cumulus clouds, like triggered lightning, which there's none of those around right now. So that's very, very good. We've got some high altitude stuff here, but overall it doesn't look bad at all. And it's wonderfully pleasant outside for Florida. So I'll take it.
Excellent. So we've got the launch coming up in just under an hour, right? The launch is scheduled for
58 minutes exactly in 58 minutes exactly. They are targeting 11:17 and 8 seconds for the liftoff time this morning.
Let me guess, is there some sort of big clock that you can look at and say what the countdown is?
I might or might not be standing right next to the multi-digital display device that is also a clock at the press site. So yes.
Oh, sorry. The multi-digital display device, not just the big clock there. Nice.
Well, it's not just a countdown clock anymore. Like
it's like a TV screen and everything, isn't it?
It's been upgraded, yeah.
I've seen you've made some improvements. Y'all, we are live here today, and as we do on the NASA Spaceflight broadcasts, we do live commentary. So we will be talking a lot. It's not just ASMR views of the rocket, but the cool thing is you can ask us questions. So if you've got a question for us, tag us in chat at NASA Spaceflight. Just start your question with at NASA Spaceflight. That highlights it for us and actually pulls it into some chat software that we've got on our end, made by the ever so talented Michael Baylor. And we will bring those questions up when we get time. Of course, questions about CRS-21, about reusable Falcons, about SpaceX, probably mostly about this mission are the ones we'll focus on. If we get into some other questions, maybe after the stream, there are things going on in other places today, especially out there at Boca Chica if you're a Starship fan. So most of the questions we're going to focus on here today are going to be about this resupply mission up to the International Space Station. But ask away at NASA Spaceflight in chat. Also, since we're live, if you do like a super chat or a membership or joining the channel or whatever, you can get that into the queue as well. Our software brings that up. And when we get time over the course of the broadcast, we will thank you for your support, because it is by your grace and your support that we are able to roll out these cameras and pay for bandwidth and get Chris down to the Cape and all the different things that allow us to bring you these different launch experiences. I almost don't even like calling it coverage. I like calling it an experience that we share with people. So Hey, Kimberly S. Thompson, real quick. Thank you for the membership. That's a pad rat. And Jeff Weiss is also joining as a pad rat. So, without further ado, Chris, do you want to give us a rundown on what's on board? That's NASA's thing, isn't it?
What is on board? Well, there are a lot of scientific experiments and stuff for the crew that are on board, like normal, right? This is while this is the first time that a Cargo Dragon 2, the second version of Dragon, is launching in its cargo only configuration, it's still a regular cargo mission and run up to the International Space Station just using a slightly different vehicle. So there are all of those normal things on board: scientific experiments, food and clothing, supplies for the crew, equipment for the various station systems. But to me, the most exciting thing that's actually on board this particular mission comes not with what is inside of Dragon itself, but what is inside of the trunk. We have the Bishop airlock from Nanoracks that is going up to the International Space Station on this mission. And this is a really cool airlock because it's a mobile airlock. And the station doesn't have a mobile airlock right now. So this is really, really cool. And I know probably a lot of people are like, what, a mobile airlock? How does that work? Don't you have to stick an airlock onto the side of a pressurized module and the crew and everything has to come out of it based on where you bolt it onto the side of the station? I mean, right, Das? Who's ever heard of a mobile airlock?
Yeah,
Right?
right.
Well, we've got one now. So once this is attached to the Tranquility module on board the station, there is no external port. So it's only an airlock from that place where the two modules meet one another. So the way this airlock works is the crew will open up the hatches and put stuff inside of it, and then close all the hatches, and then Canadarm2 will come over and grab the airlock, remove it from the station, and then they can either extend it out so that the clearances for things that we're releasing from that airlock are good for the station's overall structure. Or even more impressive, the arm can take it and mount it onto the mobile base system, and then it can be driven out along the truss of the space station on either side for various experiments and various release points. So it's a really, really cool thing.
So help me
And
understand,
yeah,
Chris, really quickly.
yeah.
You said it's not a pass-through airlock. Is it an airlock that just has one entrance? Did I hear that
Yes.
correctly?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So basically kind of think of it like your closet at home, right? There's only one entrance to your closet, one exit to
Right,
your closet, right?
right,
But
right.
now imagine that your closet could be taken off of your house and repositioned to other rooms of the house, but it still only
What?
has that yeah, exactly. That's exactly what the Bishop airlock sort of is, except unlike your closet, it can deploy things into space. Yes.
It's a movable closet that they park one side on the side of the ISS, and they can actually put things into it from inside, and then they can seal it up and unpark it, undock it, whatever, berth it, I
Yeah.
guess, right?
Yeah.
Since it's grabbed by the Canadarm. That is really cool. I had not heard the details on that. It's a Narnia
Yeah.
closet. Nice. It's like a Narnia
Pretty much,
closet.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, this thing is wild. I mean, like, I can't wait to see, like, Canadarm2 dragging this thing around the station like a suitcase, you know?
Like a suitcase. Nice. You open the
But
door one time and it looks into the station. You open the door again and it looks out to space. It's like, what happened? Ah,
exactly, and here's the other cool thing about this Bishop airlock. It alone is the reason that this Dragon is going to the docking port that it's going to. So if you remember, Crew 1 came up and docked to the forward node of Harmony, the forward docking port on the
right.
Harmony module.
Where shuttle
But
used
there's
to dock.
also exactly where the shuttles used to dock. And but there's another docking port identical to the one that Crew Dragon for Crew 1 docked to that is on top of the Harmony module. So same location, just on top of it instead of in front of it. And this Cargo Dragon is going to that top port on Harmony because that is the port where that provides enough room for the robotic arm to reach into the trunk and extract the airlock. If they had docked Crew Dragon to
Ah.
this other one and it was the forward port that was available, they would have had to have done a swap of Crew Dragon because Canadarm2 cannot reach into Dragon's trunk when it's docked to the forward port on Harmony.
Excellent. So
Yeah.
there, as they always do with these CRS, the commercial resupply missions is what CRS stands for. They always bring up different bits of experiments, different science. They do some resupply as well, some new food and water and stuff like that, I believe. Anything else notable on board, or just the? I mean, not just the airlock, just the Bishop.
So the other thing that is notable here, this version of Dragon is capable of carrying more cargo than the previous cargo-only variant of Dragon. Dragon version 1 was there's over 2,000 kilograms of supplies and equipment and everything on board for the crew. The other cool thing about this mission is really that this was the first time that SpaceX has used a crew access arm to perform payload late load on cargo only missions
Ah,
um, up to the International Space Station. They did previously put some cargo onto Demo 1 and Demo 2 and the Crew 1 missions, but this is the first time that the access arm has actually been used to load a cargo only mission with its late load items. And those are the time sensitive things, like any experiment involving an animal is usually time sensitive. Food for the crew and things like that, things that are perishable, or things and experiments that you have very tight controls and very tight timelines on get loaded last. So this was the first time that SpaceX did that in its entirety
gotcha.
for a cargo only flight. Yes.
All right. So I'm going to start running through some questions here, Chris.
Please,
We've got
yes.
just under 50 minutes to launch. Real quick before that, couple super chats came in. Dinah Duckworth. Well, actually, it's a question. I think we've answered this one. Do you know what booster number this one is?
Yes, indeed. This is booster 1058 making its fourth flight. So this is the booster that launched Bob and Doug on the Demo 2 mission back in May, and then broke the worldwide turnaround record between Falcon 9 boosters when it launched the Anasis 2 mission. Less than 2 months later, it then launched a Starlink in October, and now it is sitting back on 39A, waiting to take the first Cargo Dragon 2 on its way to the International Space Station.
Excellent. So there you go, Dinah. Thank you for the super chat and your answer. Let's see, your Rough Riders show is there as well. Rough Riders, we always see you coming through the super chats. We appreciate you saying good morning, good morning, all. Should we name the Cargo Dragon V2 crafts as well? So if wait, if so, we
I'd
should name
love
it
that.
Crew Dragon Chris G. We should name it Crew Dragon Chris
Ooh.
G.
Well, I mean,
I mean,
no
no
I
comment on that or
wouldn't
anything.
I wouldn't turn that down, but for ego purposes, I'm not gonna be the one to suggest it first.
I mean, you do have a cool last name, like Dragon Gebhardt. It sounds like
See, that sounds
sci-fi.
bad. Yeah, I
It
love that.
really
Yeah,
does, yeah. I'd take it. Rough Riders, we appreciate you always with the support there, just about every time we go live. And then Kimberly S. Thompson upgrading to the red team as well. Thanks, Kimberly, for the
awesome.
support. So, some questions. I've pulled some questions out of our
Yes.
software here, and let's see what we've got. Well, this is more of a comment. Radari says Bishop sounds more like an elevator. It's like an elevator. You get in on one floor, and then when you open the door again, you're at a different floor. Almost, almost like a cool
Longest
sideways
elevator
elevator.
ride in the world, that would be for module to module. But I like that
Nice.
analogy, yes.
Let's see here. What's the timeline until docking? So, how long after
Good
launch?
question. Yeah, excellent question. So it is it is just over 27 hours from liftoff to docking. So we have a liftoff today at 11:17 Eastern here in Florida, and the automated docking will occur tomorrow at 13:30 EST. So 18:30 UTC. Tomorrow is the docking. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
1830 UTC.
yeah, so this was one of those weird moments because we always talk about phasing, right? And your phasing angle to the International Space Station, basically where the station is in its orbit when you launch, right? When the plane of the orbit intersects the launch pad, which is what we launch to, not necessarily where the station is.
Yep.
So the station can be anywhere around the world. It can be directly over us, it can be directly on the other side of the planet, or anywhere in between. But the important thing is that we launch into its plane. So that dictates our launch time. And sometimes when you slip a day, right, you can go from a docking within hours, like Crew 1's original launch date on the 15th or 14th of November was an 8-hour rendezvous. The crew never would have gone to sleep. They would have launched at 7 p.m. and arrived at 5 a.m. To the International Space Station. But a 1-day delay then suddenly meant it was more than a day for them, right?
Right.
And sometimes you get a launch date and it's 2 days, and then you slip a day and it's 1, and then you have days where you can't actually reach the space station in time because of phasing. And this is one of those weird coincidences where both yesterday and today were more or less 24-hour rendezvous for phasing profiles. But
Right.
if you notice on the weather forecast, we don't have a launch attempt tomorrow if there's a scrub for whatever reason today, because you can't phase with the International Space Station tomorrow in the amount of time that Dragon needs to get its scientific experiments up to the space station.
Ah. So it would take it too long to go through the phasing burns and all that sort of stuff, and the science expires probably the wrong word, but some of the things are time sensitive. That's why they have to do the late
Exactly.
load, like you were talking with the arm for the first time, right? So
Exactly. And
gotcha.
some of that also too is the amount of propellant that Dragon has on board, right? And the margins that are needed, right?
Yep.
Launching tomorrow, it's possible to phase to the International Space Station. It's going to take an incredibly long amount of time and be
Sure.
pointless to your overall mission, right?
Gotcha. All right. I'm gonna run some more super chats because they're
Yeah.
coming in fast and furious. Blake Parsons, thanks for the 7.99 Australia. Another name I recognize in there. Thank you very much, Blake.
Hey, and
Matt.
Australia getting in on the space action yesterday in
Yeah.
Woomera. Yeah.
Also, Matt Large here. Quick question on the Bishop. Is the Bishop the largest thing any Dragon has taken up to the space station? I don't think
No, it is
so.
not, because the Dragons also took the beam expandable module up to the
Yes.
International Space Station. Yes.
Oh, what? Chris, the beam expandable module is like saying ATM machine because it's the Bigelow expandable activity module, expandable module.
Oh, okay, okay.
Sorry,
Is
sorry.
that sort of like how people say pin number?
Yes, pin
Yeah,
number,
okay.
ATM machine, beam expandable module. You got it, man. So that the Bigelow module is the expendable module that they put in the trunk of a Dragon a while ago and connected out to one of the docks on the space station, and we're actually able to expand it, make it bigger, so that when it was packed up in the trunk of the Dragon, it was small and compact. And I say small and compact, I mean it fit in the trunk. And then when it was outside connected to the space station, it got bigger, so the internal volume actually increased. A great way to increase the volume of the space station without having to have all that volume in the launch vehicle. But that was larger than Bishop, right, Chris? May
Sorry, I
have.
was talking to John Kraus
Ah.
here. He walked up. Sorry, what did you? Sorry.
Oh, something John Kraus. Hey, John Kraus, get off my broadcast.
The stream says hi.
The stream says hi. There you go.
Oh yeah, just say hi. Yes.
Hi.
Oh, hi. Wow. Super
That
green,
was the
super
most
enthusiastic.
anticlimactic thing ever. And now he's just walking away. So we're
Now he's
good.
just walking away.
Sorry, what was your question there, Das? Yeah.
I was just reiterating what you said about the Bigelow expandable activity module, and
Yes.
that being a little bit larger than the Bishop portable Narnia airlock or whatever.
Yes, the portable Narnia airlock. That's what we should call it. Yes.
Oh, all right. And then here is one, Tom in Space. That looks like a new membership, Tom in Space on the red team. Appreciate you. No C with €5. We appreciate you, No C. And then the old Robert Hobson coming through with $49.99.
Whoa!
That is,
Thank you.
yeah, Robert, we see you in the chat all the time with these super chats. We appreciate you. That's all I got to say. And a little bit of a question here. In Demo 2 and Crew 1 missions, the astronauts had to climb some stairs to get to the arm. Do they have to do the same with the cargo?
Yes, they do. This is a fascinating question. So, basically, yes. So, when SpaceX inherited 39A from NASA several years ago, specifically for the crew mission, right? They needed another pad, but the primary driver was the crew flights, right? Because why build a tower from scratch when NASA has left you one that you can use, right? And all of the associated systems that are needed for crew. So when they took this, there were the pre-existing levels on the fixed server structure, or what it used to be called, the fixed server structure for the shuttle program.
Yep.
And even that was a holdover from the old Apollo mobile launcher towers, those big red towers from Apollo era, were what were used to construct the towers at 39A and 39B for the shuttle program. So when SpaceX took this over, they had a bit of a problem because the level that they needed for crew access arm for Dragon did not have a level on it because it was not a needed level for Apollo or shuttle. So they actually had to squeeze in an extra level where there hadn't been one before. And that then created the conundrum of, well, there's no elevator access to that level. And instead of all the time and money and everything that would have needed to go into, completely redesigning the tower and the elevator systems and adding things, they just built another level and put stairs.
Yeah. It's just a
So
couple
yeah,
steps. It's not like they have to go up 2 flights of stairs. It's like a half level or
right.
something like that, right?
It's a half level for the tower, but it would
Ah.
probably be equivalent to like 2 actual flights of stairs
Oh,
in
wow.
real life.
Like 2
Or
stories?
maybe a story or two, maybe a story and a half or something like
Gotcha.
that. Yeah, but that's why you see the crew come off the elevator and then have to go upstairs, and they would do the same thing for cargo. Yes.
Gotcha. All right. Again, Robert Hobson, thank you so much. Super generous there with the
Yeah.
$50 super chat. We really appreciate the support. It's not the first time you've done that. It really is a frequent thing with you. I almost said a frequent problem with you, but it's not a problem at all. We appreciate you. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
So,
and that was a really good question too. Thank you for that, because that is one
yeah.
of the quirks of 39A now is that little added level that SpaceX had to do. Yeah.
So I'm gonna cherry pick a question here because it lets me do something I want to do. And Chris, I know you can knock this answer out of the park given the way that maps work. But Martin Smith asks, if the weather's good enough for this flight, why is it not good enough for SN8 to hop?
Yes, because there's, oh my gosh, how much, like 1,000 kilometers difference between the Florida spaceport where we are now at the Kennedy Space Center and Brownsville, Texas. And
Which,
well, Boca
which is
Chica,
on the
Texas.
screen, by the way.
Yes, which is on the screen. You're looking at Starship there on the left-hand side from South Padre Island, and you're looking at Falcon 9 on 39A from the KSC press site. But yes, we're being impacted by completely different weather systems that are doing. We're being impacted by different parts of weather systems here, right? So sometimes you see cold fronts go through both of us, but
Right?
this particular time it's not the same overall system that's affecting Florida and Texas. So the weather in Texas has not been amenable this weekend for testing. If you see a lot of the pictures that Mary and Jack and Tyler and everyone from NSF are getting out there right now, you know what I mean. It's very overcast. It's very gray. It's very, it's very winter for the South right now in Florida. And they have wind limits high up in the atmosphere, just like Falcon 9 does.
Yep.
And for test flights, you always go a little bit more conservative, right, than you do when you actually get into flight and you've got things. So the weather here in Florida is great for a Falcon 9 launch today, but the weather in Texas is not great for a Starship test today.
Yeah, and they may be doing some testing. They may be doing some ground equipment testing there today. At least we can see the Starship. I don't know if people were around yesterday, but we had this robot mounted at South Padre Island. This is a robotic camera. You can see me sort of panning around it there, and we had it mounted yesterday. And all day yesterday, you could not even get a glimpse of the Starship. And out there today, at least the mist and fog has cleared up. We are able to see the Starship out there. Later, we may, because Mary got an alert notice, we may have a static fire pre-burner, some sort of test, a big May, a capital May on the May there. But we will be trying to cover that as well if we get wind of something happening out at South Padre Island. But
I just want to pause really quick to say that at
yeah,
this point, we are 37 minutes and counting to the launch of Falcon 9 here with Dragon. At this point, the crews will be doing their automated go, no go poll for liftoff to proceed down into fueling. They're probably also getting their standard what to do if the need to abort the countdown occurs. It's a very standard message that gets put out by the Falcon 9 launch director. We're hearing a big vent of GSD from the launch pad here
all right.
right now, but very standard things that the team would be going through right now in the countdown process toward liftoff here, about a minute and a half away from the anticipated start of fueling.
Of fueling. Excellent. And that's usually at T minus 35 minutes. We'll start to see some signs, or start to see some signs spool up, begin that the rocket has been fueled, some vapors maybe, condensation sort of rolling off the sides. And the more fuel they put in it, the more we see of that as they go down to that T minus 20 minute, the big vent that indicates that everything is marching along, right, Chris?
Exactly right, Das. Yes.
Alrighty. Let's see here. More super chats coming in. I'm just gonna hit them really quickly. Lasers with a membership. Appreciate you, Lasers. Also, Waukesha. I'm gonna go with. There's not even a vowel in that first name. I apologize, but Waukesha, thank you so much for the membership as well. We've got Jerry Albers saying thanks for all the videos and info. We appreciate the support, Jerry. Rishab Amber Gupta has a question, and 350 of those little currency units, to coin Jack's or to use Jack's term. Hey guys, can you
Currency unit.
confirm? Can you confirm if SpaceX is using Crew Dragon and modified it to Cargo Dragon V2? As always, amazing stuff you guys are doing. So, what are the differences between Crew Dragon and Cargo Dragon? And somebody just kicked your tripod.
I kicked my tripod. So yes, getting it set back up.
Okay.
Yes. So yes, Cargo Dragon. The Cargo Dragon 2 is the same overall design as Crew Dragon.
Right.
The big differences here are two things. One, well, three things actually. They don't put seats and everything in the cargo versions of Dragons because they don't need it. Right. So all the crew interfaces, everything like that, are removed for weight savings because you don't need them.
Right.
The other big thing on the is that the Super Draco abort engines, the launch abort engines on the Super Dracos are removed and are not included on Cargo Dragon because Cargo Dragon doesn't need to perform launch escape operations to save the crew. As they've said before this year, the Dragons are actually designed to theoretically be able to survive the breakup of a Falcon 9 even without those launch abort engines
Right.
in the Super Dracos. So if there were to be a launch mishap at some point during flight, as long as the vehicle was high enough in altitude when that mishap occurred, Dragon would simply survive the breakup of Falcon 9, jettison its trunk, pop its parachutes, and splash down in the Atlantic Ocean for
Gotcha.
recovery. And then the other big thing is 2 of the 4 stabilization fins on the trunk were removed because they were there primarily for aerodynamic control and stability for crew launch abort situations. So they removed 2 of them, and the reason they did not remove the other 2 is because that little fin bump out on the trunk where you mount solar panels and arrays actually give you more efficiency with power generation when you're
Right.
on orbit. So they left those because it was more efficient from a power generation standpoint. But they took the
Gotcha.
other 2 off. Yeah. So those are the main differences, but it is the same dimension. It is the same basic shell or pressure vessel of the capsule and everything like that. Just the things we didn't need for crew, we took off to save weight and mass, which allows you to put more mass and payload on it to send it up to the station.
All right. And I was working on some stuff. It looks like SpaceX hasn't spooled up their streams yet. Even the Mission Control audio stream is not up yet. It was scheduled for
NASA was not scheduled to go live until 10:45.
until
So I imagine
10:45.
SpaceX is the same at this point. Yes.
And because this is a NASA mission, maybe they have different timings on like the mission control. Because a lot of times the SpaceX mission control comes online way before the launch, and this one looks like they may be holding off because it is for NASA, right?
Yes, well, and a lot of NASA missions do have. I mean, we've seen some NASA missions, right, where there are dueling broadcasts, but then we've also seen some NASA missions where it's a single combined
Right.
one. So
Gotcha.
not entirely sure what they're opting for today, but yeah, NASA should be going live right about now, and we are at T minus 32 minutes exactly, and counting to the liftoff according to the clocks here at the Kennedy Space Center. So at this point, fueling operations should be underway with liquid oxygen and liquid kerosene flowing into stage 1 and kerosene flowing into stage 2 at this point.
Good deal. And y'all begin looking at. There's a little bit of heat haze there, so you can see the weather there in Florida. The rocket's a little bit wavery just
Oh,
because.
I can see it on a different angle, not the one here, but yes, Falcon 9 is starting to get frosty, so they
All
are
right.
starting to fuel. Yes.
Good deal. So y'all keep an eye on the rocket there and be looking for some venting and some condensation to start occurring. If you can spot ice, maybe you'll be able to. I know it's a little bit difficult with a little bit of heat haze we've got there. Chris, the press site is what, a couple miles away from 39A?
Yes, I am 3 miles or 5 kilometers away
3
from
miles
39A.
or 5 kilometers. All right. So y'all start looking for that while we keep going through some super chats here. Um, Here's a question about life on the space station. I never thought of this before. How do astronauts wash their clothes? And there's a dragon tie into that answer, isn't there?
There is indeed a dragon tie into that answer. The short answer is they do not. There are no washing machines. There are no ways to, wash things like we do here on Earth. So a lot of it is a calculation of what are you doing? How many times can this be worn? You know, for for all those different things, right? Because you don't want to
Right.
keep putting on dirty things, right? I mean, there is a health and hygiene and sanity or sanitary, element to that. So that's all part of the calculation of how much clothes every person gets when we launch them up to the space station, when we get them back from the space station. I mean, sometimes they're disposed of in the cargo vehicles that burn up in the atmosphere. Sometimes they can be brought back if they need to be. But yes, so when we say cruise supplies, it's always usually going to include some clothes for the crew.
Some clothes. So Dragon
Yes,
is probably carrying some fresh clothes. And like you were saying, sometimes hey, I've never heard of them bringing them back on Dragon. I'm sure maybe sometimes somebody puts something in a bag to see how it wears and tears or something like that. But a lot of times they'll put some clothes and some trash in a spacecraft that does not get recovered, right? Like they could put it in
exactly.
a Cygnus and the clothes just burn up in the atmosphere when the Cygnus burns up on the atmosphere. As opposed to the Dragon, which splashes down, they could actually recover clothes if they needed to do that. I think there's more important science payloads than clothes, right?
Yes, and therein comes the trick. The only vehicle that's capable of bringing stuff back, scientific stuff back from the space station, is Dragon. So most of that down mass is allotted to that. But then if there's an ability or room to bring other things, they will. But first and foremost, Dragon down mass is going to go toward that time-sensitive scientific cargo. Because some of the cargo and science experiments launching today will come back in 30 days with this Dragon when it lands in the Atlantic Ocean. This is another big change with the CRS-2 round of contracts and Cargo Dragon 2 is they will return to the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Florida
Yep.
for quick recovery and to be brought back here to Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral very quickly for cargo unload, where they can turn it right over to NASA right here, right? And then reprocess and refurb the capsule to get it ready to go again on its next mission.
Gotcha. Chris, I'm going to look for a longer question for you here because I've got the NASA stream live now and I need to configure that to get pulled in to our
Ah, cool.
broadcast. Let's see here. Here's a good one. Does orbital debris in satellites factor into launch schedules? Some COLA discussions here.
Oh, this is a fascinating discussion. Yes. Okay. So the basic answer to this is yes. Debris in space were, and not just debris, but functional satellites in orbit as well. Right. All of this sort of comes into play when you're looking at the trajectory that the vehicle is going to be following for its initial drop off into orbit. Right, and then also because this is a very tight phasing sequence with Dragon up to the International Space Station, that whole thing as you're raising your orbit and you're phasing, right? That they're looking for is this initial path, right, before Dragon could do a maneuver to get out of the way of something, right?
Right.
Is it going to come close enough to anything that we know is already in orbit that could be bad? Like we don't want these two things coming close together. And this is what's known as a collision avoidance, and it's called COLA, C-O-L-A. So whenever you hear a launch provider say there are no cutouts or COLAs or we have a COLA, it means collision avoidance. It means there's something in orbit that if they launched at the precise second that they wanted to, they'd run the risk of hitting something or colliding with something before they could be in a stable orbit and do those avoidance maneuvers. So we don't launch during that. Now, sometimes this doesn't matter because we have a lot of missions have long launch windows, right? So if you do know that you have to delay a little bit and tweak your timing, it's not that big of a deal for a mission. It becomes a huge deal for missions like today that only have single second launch windows. So if you're If you have a COLA, a collision avoidance, that says, well, we can't launch at 11:17:08 Eastern Standard Time on December 6th, and you have to launch at 11:17:08 Eastern Standard Time to perform your mission, you're not going anywhere that day. You're staying on the ground because of that potential collision. And we have actually seen this the most recent one that pops into memory. A Rocket Lab mission of Electron earlier this year had to shift its launch time a little bit to avoid the International Space Station. So even the space station can end up becoming the debris object that you have to avoid with a certain gap, with basically a black zone in your launch window that says you can't launch during this particular sequence of seconds because you'll come too close to this other object. Now, the good news is that because of how quickly things move in space, sometimes moving your launch time 30 seconds does it. And you're out of that window and you're going to miss by enough of a distance that it's not an issue. But yes, those types of things do have to be factored in. And it's one of the reasons that we care a lot about the debris environment in space and the population of the various of the various orbits that we have around Earth, the sort of high frequency trafficked orbits that we have. But it's something we have to live around. It doesn't happen all that often, but when it does, you just kind of wiggle around a few seconds and find your window and go.
Gotcha. And Chris, that was perfect timing. Thank you so much for
You
holding
are
it down
welcome.
there. Excellent. Michael and I are working on a technical thing on the back end there. So let's see here. I will grab a couple more super chats, and we are coming up on, we just passed actually T minus 25 minutes before the launch. Again, if you're just joining us, this is CRS-21. It is a commercial resupply mission. SpaceX launching a Falcon 9 and a Dragon cargo craft up to the International Space Station in just under 25 minutes. Thank y'all for joining us today. Out there in the field, that's Chris Gebhardt that you hear. He is operating the camera at the press site at Cape Canaveral, Kennedy Space Center, and he is doing the answers, the Q&A for you as well out there in the field. So give a big hand to Chris.
And I just want to pull the camera back a little bit from the rocket because I do want to show everyone.
Security?
Oh, no, not security.
Oh.
No, I want to show everyone how absolutely gorgeous it is here. That weather prediction has fully materialized into the we don't have clouds to worry about, which was our main concern for today.
Wow.
And also, you can see the Dragon flag flying below the American flag whenever there is a crew spacecraft in orbit. The flag bearing its mission patch is flown at the Space Center until it returns. So the Dragon flag will be there until next year. And then it'll be interesting because for the first time, if they follow the tradition correctly, for the first time in U.S. space program history, we'll have two flags flying at the same time for crewmen.
Oh, wow.
Well, actually, I shouldn't say first. Sorry, because a lot of people are going to catch me on that. There were two Gemini flights that overlapped. I'm sorry. Momentarily forgot that. It will be the second time in U.S. history that two crew vehicles are up at the exact same time. So that will also be really cool.
All right. So, Chris, I didn't actually know that. I didn't know that they flew the flag like that. I've been to the press site there. I've stood right underneath that flagpole next to the multifunction display. Won't say countdown clock, and I did not know that that was a thing. I've learned something. I don't know how many hours of webcast, thousands of hours of doing this sort of stuff, and I did not know that little fact. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Yeah, when the shuttle program was flying, they would bring out the flag of the orbiter that was flying the mission. So if it was a flight on the Endeavor's flag would be flying under the American flag for the duration of the mission until they were safely down on the ground. So yeah, this is a nice little tradition that's carried over, but they're just using the mission patches now instead of a generic Dragon flag.
Gotcha. And again, y'all, coming up on 22 minutes here, and we're
22 minutes exactly.
Aha. Michael. Michael, I don't know, because Chris, when you say exactly, our countdown clock is like 1 to 2 seconds off, like behind.
Yeah, so we're aiming for 11:17 and 8 seconds is the precise to the second liftoff time today.
It's all right. Just really quickly, would it be possible to point the camera at that multifunction display? Is that cool?
Oh yeah,
I'm curious because this is a technical thing, and Michael's probably rolling his eyes at me right now.
I'm curious to see too. Let's see. 1 second off.
Or like 1 second off. So maybe it's just a
Because-
counting thing.
No, it's because I know what the actual launch time is, but I
Yeah.
try to offset it by a stream delay. So it looks like I got it within a second. which
Within a second,
I think
nice.
that's not too bad, but I will.
That's not too bad.
I
No,
will
that's
warn
pretty good. Yeah.
I mean, it's not like we're launching rockets into space or anything, Michael. I guess within a second's close enough.
Yeah. The one,
But what Michael's saying there is there's always a small little delay between the feed transmission. So he tries to match the internal countdown clock that gets that clock to appear for you all so that it's right. But that means it's not necessarily counting on our side to the exact liftoff time. It's trying to compensate for that 1 second difference. That's what he's talking about there.
Yeah.
In
And
case you want some behind the scenes stuff of how these broadcasts actually work.
I can tell you, I'm pulling in the NASA feed officially, and the NASA feed is on a 30-second delay right now. It is its countdown clock.
There's
is
our
30
20-minute
seconds behind
vent.
ours. Oh yeah,
there is
right
our
there.
20-minute vent, which, for the record, began at 20 minutes and 25 seconds.
Yeah. Chris? Is it just around 20 minutes? It's not exactly 20 minutes, and that's a normal thing.
I don't think it's precisely timed for exactly 20. It's like within a given number of seconds in there for like quote unquote baseline normal.
Gotcha.
For what the vehicles do, yeah.
All right, and I just see the SpaceX stream here too. So Chris, I'm going to be doing some technical stuff in the back end. If you can continue to take it away.
Yes, indeed.
Here's a doozy if you want to talk about this.
Oh, I love when you phrase it like that.
Busy times at the Cape. Do you think NROL 44 will affect the date of SXM?
Boy, here we go.
So many rockets launching from the Cape. How does Cape Canaveral, how does the 45th Space Wing, all the different organizations that support this, how do they keep all this stuff in line?
Yes, okay, this is a great question. What this question is referring to is there is currently, right now, a SpaceX mission on the books 4 days from now on the 10th of December, launching from Pad 40 with a Sirius XM satellite radio, the 7th of the XM series. Up there. They have asked for the 10th. They have had the 10th approved. They have had this for a while. Earlier late last week, United Launch Alliance came out and said, surprise, we're finally ready to try again for the Delta IV, which is the mission that had the abort at T-minus 3 seconds in August, and then an abort at T-minus 7 seconds again a month later when they tried again, and they haven't tried since late September to launch that mission. But all of a sudden, they came out late last week and said, we're going to be ready to go on the 10th, and we've requested the 10th from the range. Well, Falcon 9 is sitting on the range on the 10th, and they are too close to each other to go on the same day because Falcon 9 is about 11:40 in the morning, and the Delta IV would be at 5:50 in the evening. And that's, from everything we've been told on all of our meetings and all of our discussions, that's too close for the range to accommodate two vehicles. So now the question becomes, which one gets priority? SpaceX has asked for this and has had it. Now the National Reconnaissance Office and ULA wants it, but ULA has had issues getting this rocket off the ground, and the range isn't too keen to knock another customer off of a date that's already been approved for a mission that's had quite a few problems getting off the ground. So they're all in those discussions right now. Nobody knows which one is going to win the battle of range priority for this. So this morning, airspace closure notices went out for both of them on the same day.
Oh, geez.
Because we just don't know which one it's going to be yet. But all those things are happening in the background. But from what we understand, the range is not too... The range isn't as conducive to this one as they normally would be to bump a commercial mission for a national security mission because of the problems this has had with the Delta IV. So which one's going to get it? We don't know. What I do know is that SpaceX also has a confirmed backup day for the 11th, also approved by the range. So this could get very, very interesting for ULA. And to be fair, based on the issues that Delta IV has had, it is within the range's purview I think is the word I'm going for there. It is within the range's purview to tell a National Reconnaissance Office mission, sorry, we gave you priority so many times before and bumped other missions, right? Because SpaceX has had missions bumped for this Delta IV that has then not gone. So there's all those little things, but technically the range can say no to the NRO for priority. So we'll see which one gets it. But it definitely will be interesting for the Delta IV here, and which one will get the 10th and which one will have to wait.
Good deal. And
Yeah.
Chris, as we come up on 15 minutes here, the technical team in
Yes.
the studio is working on all sorts of technical things.
Well,
so
that is
thank
good. I will do a brief update on where we are right now to give you some extra time. So we just passed T-minus 16 minutes. And for those of you who are joining our broadcast or joined it after we began, I am Chris Gebhardt. I am the assistant managing editor at NASA Spaceflight. And I am here with our actual camera. Look, I can move it just a little bit up and down. Like, this is our camera, not NASA's. Here at the press site at looking at Dragon and Falcon 9 on pad 39A. 15.5 minutes to go until liftoff. At this point, RP1 kerosene has been fully loaded into the second stage and closed out, or is in stable replenish right now. They're basically just keeping it topped off, sort of like what you do at the gas pump when you want to get just that extra little bit in your tank and you top it off. So they're continuing to top off RP1 kerosene into the second stage, while they now load densified liquid oxygen into the second stage as well. The second stage fuels separately, so kerosene goes first and then oxygen, whereas with the second stage, whereas with the first stage and booster 1058 making its fourth flight today, that one gets its load of RP1 kerosene and densified liquid oxygen simultaneously beginning at T-minus 35 minutes. But right now, all is progressing on track, and there are no weather-related issues, at least that they have said, that they are tracking. So we appear right now to be go for both liftoff here from the Kennedy Space Center and pad 39A, and a landing of booster 1058.4 on the drone ship, about 530 kilometers northeast of here off the coast of South Carolina.
Chris, which drone ship is out there today?
No, I was really hoping you wouldn't ask me that.
Wouldn't ask you. Just read the instructions. Just left. I know because I was on fleet cam.
Oh,
So
okay. So then, of course, I Still Love You is waiting to catch this booster, and Just Read the Instructions is headed out to catch the SXM7 booster on the 10th. So
there
that's
you
why
go.
it's leaving. So even more. There we go. Actually, Just Read the Instructions leaving port now, DOS, is a good
It left
indication.
just this morning. Yeah,
This morning.
9:30.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so this morning, a couple hours ago, is good indication that exactly what I was just saying, you know, SpaceX technically has the range for the 10th. It will take the range pulling their approval to give it instead to NRO. So SpaceX is keeping on for that
Yep.
mission on the 10th.
Good deal.
But there we go. Yes, I'd forgotten to look which drone ship, which is why I didn't say the name. And then, gosh, you had to say the name. But at least you came up with which one just left. That helps.
Well, I knew you would know it if I told you which one just left, and so I
Well,
wasn't
there
going
you
to
go,
answer
yes.
the question for you, but I was going to still showcase your knowledge of what the heck's going on.
Or
I
lack
just always have
thereof in
fleet
that
cam
case.
up. Yeah. Anytime anything happens on fleet cam, I get DMs from fans, and they're like, "Oh, this is happening on fleet cam right now," and
Oh, sweet,
I'll
yeah.
wake up in the morning and I know everything that happened on that camera over the night because I will have Discord DMs and Twitter DMs with fans telling me, "Oh, this happened, this happened." So I really appreciate that.
This is one of the fun parts of Fleet Cam, right? That we weren't
Yeah.
really expecting. Like when we set it up, we knew we were going to get to see things, but we didn't really know what all there was to see continuously. And this is part of the fascinating. This is part of the fascinating thing that Fleet Cam has shown us and been able to show everyone. Actually,
I
yeah.
completely agree. Absolutely. And Chris, I'm continuing to work here. We've got a lot of webcasts going on. So
Cool. Are there any questions or anything?
let me see if I can grab something really quickly here. Could SpaceX launch on the 9th for this mission? Like, what are our backup days? Let's make that the question.
Okay, so from I think as far out as they went, we do not have tomorrow because of phasing conditions with the International Space Station. So Monday is not a possible launch day. So the 8th is no, but the 7th is no, but the 8th is yes. And I don't recall them speaking beyond that. actually just yet, but a good rule of thumb is you typically get three-ish days in a row where you've got good phasing, and then maybe that fourth or fifth one is the day that you have to take off, basically.
Gotcha.
And that's very, very rough because, as I said, it depends precisely on where the station is in its orbit when the orbital plane intersects the launch pad, which is when you have to launch. So, but general rule of thumb, you get 3 or 4 days, and then you have to wait a day. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. I'll see if I can grab another question here for you. We got the SpaceX launch on the 9th. Aha! Talking about turnaround times between launches. So, how quickly could the question says KSC, but what's the sort of turnaround time between launches? Like, could they launch another one 24 hours, 48? And then what do they have to wait
They
on?
could launch 2 Falcon 9s within 9 hours of each other. They've tried to do that before. um, but one scrubbed. There was a day earlier this year where a Falcon 9 was going to go at 10 a.m. and
Right?
then a second Falcon 9 from the other pad here was going to go at 5 p.m. So literally within 5 hours of each other, they stop. Sir, sorry. Sorry, just don't want you to walk in front of it because we're
Oh.
live. Okay. Sorry. But yeah, so they've tried to do it within 5 hours of each other before, and the range can accommodate that, um, more or less because of work schedules. Like it could be the same shift, or you could have a shift change in between those,
Right?
and also the automated flight termination system of a Falcon 9. And if everything's already configured for a Falcon 9, it's a personnel thing at that point, right, for timing. So yeah, no, they could launch within 5 hours of each other. That we is the minimum that we know of. I know Hans Koningsman, the director of reliability and build at SpaceX. You know, I know he said some things in the past about like, yeah, that's probably as close as he would be comfortable with because of like that quick look data review you've got to do of the one before.
Right.
But yeah, they can go very, very quickly after one another if we're talking 2 Falcon 9s. But as soon as we get into like a Falcon and an Atlas and a Falcon and a Delta, um, it depends on which one goes first. Because it takes less time to reconfigure from a Delta to a Falcon than it does from a Falcon to a Delta.
Ah.
So yeah, once you start getting into different providers, it comes down to who's first. And your various launch times that can dictate how quickly you can go with one another. In terms of pad turnaround, they have done a pad turnaround in about 7 to 9 days. I know the SXM7 is going from 40 in 4 days' time, and then NROL 108, which is a classified NRO mission that SpaceX has for this month, will be back on 39A in a couple weeks' time. So they'll go A to 40 and then back to A within the time span of about 13 days.
All right. And I'm not even going to apologize for this real quick here, y'all. A cargo ship moved in and blocked our view over towards 39A. We normally can't see 39A from Fleet Cam, but I was confused myself for a second. That's cranes on a cargo ship, but we are going to try and get some video off Fleet Cam for this launch as well. And then there is that official stream, and then there is Chris from the Cape. All right.
And
good deal.
we are 8 minutes, 9 seconds away from targeted liftoff. So we are definitely in the business end of our countdown. So some things that we'll be expecting to see here as we keep taking questions. At 7 minutes, engine chill down will begin, where they begin thermally conditioning the 9 Merlin engines by bleeding and allowing some densified liquid oxygen to come down into those lines to thermally condition them. So there isn't a cryoshock event at ignition. Then we'll see that the Falcon 9's tanks will pressurize for strong back retract. The strong back will retract to 88.5 degrees. And then at 1 minute, we'll have final pressurization of the Falcon 9 for flight. Falcon 9 will take control and be in control of the vehicle and the countdown at that point. And then we'll get a final go for launch decision at about T-minus 45 seconds from the launch director. So that is where we stand now with a nice and frosty Falcon 9 on 39A.
Excellent. Again, y'all, this is CRS-21. The voice you're hearing talking a lot is Chris Gebhardt out there in the field, assistant managing editor for NASA's Spaceflight, and he is crewing this camera that is here at the Cape Canaveral press site, the Kennedy Space Center press site. What's the right way to say that, Chris? Kennedy Space Center press site, right?
That's what I've always called it, but bizarrely, like over the loudspeaker announcement that came right when I got here called it the Kennedy Space Center Spaceport.
Interesting.
So, no idea. That's
I mean,
the
all
first time
right.
I've ever heard it referred to as that. Yeah, I mean, Kennedy Space Center is its technical name. Yes.
Right.
And as is Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, sometimes we just call it the Florida Spaceport.
Gotcha. We know where you are, but you are out there in the field. It's a beautiful day in Florida. It looks. I want to be out there today. It looks fantastic. I bet you it's not all crazy hot and humid like it is during the summer.
Oh my gosh, no, it's gorgeous. I don't know if we have the temperature up on screen, but it's in the 60s. It's in the upper 60s.
Oh,
Absolutely
wow.
gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah, right now we don't have the temperature up on the screen, but it just looks absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it's in like the upper 60s Fahrenheit, like 18, 19, 20 C or something like that. But
Good deal.
yeah, it's really gorgeous.
So I'm going to see, I've got some super chats that have been building up in the queue for 30 minutes here now. I'm going to see if I can get them done before 5 minutes on the clock. Sandy
for it.
AP, thank you for the $5. Oh, there's some questions in there. I'm going to come back to that one, and we'll do that one last so you can answer the question, Chris. Brian Barr, this one's really quick. It's $4.99. Curly L's, given American registered aircraft have an N tail number, so like the N number you see on the tail of a plane, do the Falcon 9s and Starship have an official N number? Is that part of the FAA thing?
They have their own serial numbers. Like this is B1058, but they don't have N numbers, I don't think. Michael, I've never seen that on. I never looked for it, to be fair, on an FAA license, but
Yeah, they'll do like
I
an
don't
S
think
number.
they do. No, I
Like a
don't think
spaceship
rockets
number.
get. I mean, everything once it's launched into orbit gets cataloged, and everything gets a catalog number in the orbital catalog once it's launched. So,
Yeah.
um,
Not anything that
that's
we've.
the system we tend to use for spaceflight because it's an international numbering system. So, like if China were suddenly to launch 3 seconds before this one launched, surprisingly,
Right.
China would get the next available number that we originally thought Dragon would get once it gets
Yeah.
cataloged in orbit. So,
Like the space catalog number. Gotcha.
yes, exactly.
Future Martian, thank you for the $10. Future Martian, another name we recognize around here. We appreciate the support there, Future. Let's see here. Yakov Avner is a new membership. Welcome to the NASA Spaceflight crew, Yakov. We appreciate the support. Here's one from Jocelyn Wagner, $30, saying, astounded that Dragon Gebhardt, nice, knows minutia about even Gemini missions. What was your degree, and do you have a photographic memory? What's your degree in, Chris?
My degree is in English composition and rhetoric and American cultural studies. I have two. Yeah, I don't use either of those things for my job, really. No,
We had to read.
It's my passion. Like, I mean, I read and I communicate, so
Yeah.
writing and rhetoric. But I mean, writing and rhetoric doesn't actually mean journalism in the English major field. So no, like I didn't study journalism. I didn't study space exploration or space history or anything like that. I read a lot about it because I'm fascinated by it. And I don't know, I can commit a lot of stuff about space to memory, but ask me who I met last week, couldn't tell you.
I know how that is. I can explain how the inner workings of every single camera that I've deployed, but I can't remember my wife's phone number. I have to have it programmed into my phone. It's
Every
terrible.
time I get to Kennedy, when you have to manually write the emergency contact
Yep,
person, I
yep.
have to stop and think, oh my God, what is her phone number?
Wait,
Every time.
You're not putting down my wife's phone number, are you? You're putting down.
Not your, no. I'm my significant other's number.
All right,
Yes.
3 minutes. 3 minutes till launch. Sorry, Chris.
Yes,
Stumpy
indeed.
Fingers says, love the coverage. Keep up the good work. We appreciate you, Stumpy. Thank you for the curly L's. Chris Pucala there is a new membership. We appreciate the support, Chris. And then Bill D tossing in some beer money, camera money, whatever it is. Bill, come on. Make sure you are well tanked up before you give us any of your beer money. We always appreciate you coming through, sharing your budget with us. Thank you so much for that. There's one more super chat in here. I'm going to hold it until after lunch because it's another long question about CRS contracts and stuff like that. I see you there, Sandy AP. I'm not missing you. Well, I am missing you on purpose, but we are now 2 minutes and 20 seconds from the launch. So, Chris, let's go ahead. You've got your microphone on?
Yep, everything is ready for the camera, so I will get off Discord comms, and I will be ready to take us down in the final 90 seconds.
All right, so I am going to bring you off real-time audio, and actually, you bring yourself off real-time audio. If you could, mute your phone, and I'm going to bring up the camera microphone here at T-minus 2 minutes. All right, little technical things to jump there. And we'll bring that microphone up. And we see the water tower spilling over. That's how they know that the water tower is ready to go. There's
Which
a
is
valve at
good.
the top. Yep. It starts spilling. And Chris, we've got you on camera audio now, so we're going to be talking on a little bit of a delay. But at T-minus 1 minute and 30 seconds, Chris Gebhardt out there in the field next to this rocket 3 miles away. Take it away. You're in control of the commentary.
All right, and we are 1 minute and 10 seconds away from our anticipated liftoff here. And now T-minus 1 minute and counting. "45 seconds to go." We should have our go for launch from the launch director. Falcon 9's tanks have pressurized for flight, and Falcon 9 is in control at this point. We have 30 seconds to go now. 25 seconds. 20 seconds. 15. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we did not... Oh, there we go. All right, looking at the wrong thing. There we go. We have a liftoff of the CRS-21 mission, expanding external access to the station and debuting a new cargo vehicle. We have had a gorgeous initial ascent of the Falcon 9 off 39A, the vehicle continuing to pitch downrange, heading out onto a heading out on an azimuth to take it to a 51.6 degree inclination orbit up toward the International Space Station. You can see that contrail happening in the upper atmosphere. Falcon 9 basically about 9 to 10 kilometers in altitude right now, a normal condensation trail for those liquid-fueled main engines as the Merlins continue to burn. This is the fourth flight of this particular Falcon 9 booster and the first flight of the cargo Dragon 2 vehicle. You can see the flames of those engines changing color as the Falcon 9 is out of most of the dense lower atmosphere of Earth. Not completely out just yet, but you can definitely see the vacuum effect there on the engines. And Das, I think I have lost it on my camera.
Up a bit, up a bit. You still had it. All right, Chris. So let's bring you back onto the real-time audio. I'm going to bring down the camera microphone. Of course, that's what we use to get that launch sound. We get
All
better
right.
real-time
Staging
audio.
has, oh, sorry, staging has happened and we have ignition on the MVAC engine.
There you go.
All right, so we have a successful staging approaching 3 minutes into the flight. The Merlin vac has ignited. The first stage is on its way to, of course, I Still Love You, located about 530 kilometers northeast of the launch site here at Kennedy, waiting to catch that booster. Absolutely gorgeous start to the mission here, Das.
Yeah. It's such a nice day out there, Chris. I've been staying home and I am really wishing that I could get down to the Cape. I appreciate you being out there covering this for us.
It is my absolute pleasure, yes. There's still so many more left to go this year, but yes, 3.5 minutes into the flight, everything looking good. The Merlin engines, nozzle, they're glowing bright, exactly as we like to see, a telltale sign of a good and happy engine on the second stage of the Falcon 9.
It's such a nice day. It's such a nice day out there.
It really is. We talk a little bit about the delay in the video. So I was watching the countdown clock on the multi-digital
Yes.
display device so I could count correctly. The TV feed on it was wrong, so it got to 0 and no engine ignition was shown. So that's why I kind of paused for a second before I flicked my eyes over to the launch pad and was like, "Oh, it's up. Okay." All the things you have to look at and pay attention to here. It's fun sometimes.
All right. And Chris, we've got you back on Discord audio, right? We've got you on real time. Okay.
Yes, I'm on Discord audio, yes.
All
Alrighty,
right.
there you can see that first stage doing its flip maneuver, reorienting itself there as it prepares to head down towards the drone ship. And you can see all of the velocity and altitude targets are for the second stage as it continues to take the Dragon and the cargo mission for the International Space Station into its initial parking orbit. There. I don't think I'll ever get tired of watching the camera views from these rockets as they go up and come back.
All right. Just past 5 minutes now in the launch T plus. And the next thing we're going to see coming up here as we continue to watch the views from both stages, the lower stage, the booster on the left and the upper stage on the right, continuing its way to the International Space Station, we should see the entry burn happening where the Falcon 9 booster uses its supersonic retro propulsion, right? That's just a cool thing to say. As it re-enters the atmosphere and begins to target that drone ship hundreds of kilometers, hundreds of miles downrange in the Atlantic Ocean.
Look at the limb of Earth there on the booster footage too. Absolutely incredible and gorgeous.
It's so cool when you can see the curvature of the Earth in the background of these rocket shots.
I know. I mean, and just like that one right now on the booster shot where you can just barely see it. It's, oh man. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, so coming up on that entry burn, like Das was just saying, this is a 3-engine entry burn, which, or how did you say it, Das? Supersonic retro propulsion?
That's what I said, yeah. I don't know if
Yes.
that's a made-up fan term or what, but that's what I said. There it is,
And
right there.
there you can see it happening right there. That landing burn is reducing the first stage's velocity, which lowers the overall thermal load that is put onto it, that it experiences during the re-entry sequence, because it does coast up above the atmosphere and comes back on down. So they do this burn to help slow it down. And basically they use fire to create a firewall to protect against heat, and I love that.
A firewall, nice.
Right, yes.
Looks like the entry burn has shut down.
Excellent. So at this point, what we could expect from previous missions, we might lose the signal from the booster a little bit as it goes over the horizon before the drone ship picks it up. And then we should see live views from the drone ship. And maybe some stable footage as the booster comes down. I know some previous missions we've got good video. I know they're deploying Starlink on those drone ships as well. So all of this will be good to watch. But as that happens, and I know I sound like a broken record all the time, but booster landings are really cool and they're really fun to watch. Keep your eye on that second stage engine just now. It is approaching its initial orbit insertion and the completion of that first burn. So those two events are going to occur. The booster landing and stage 2 orbit insertion are going to happen very close to one another.
Yeah.
Here, but cheer, do whatever you want for the booster, but keep your eye on that second stage because that is the whole reason that we launched here today.
Yep, and we are coming up on that landing burn now in the timeline. Not sure if we're going to get video from it. Haven't seen video from the drone ship yet here during the launch, but let's see what SpaceX gives us.
All right, here it comes onto the drone ship.
We've got pixels.
Got pixels. I see a flame, and
Survey says
I see a booster standing on that deck.
There
Yes!
you go.
And almost the exact second that the booster touched down, the second stage cut off its engine and is in orbit now.
Do that
you
in
can see
Kerbal.
it's about 198 kilometers in altitude, traveling 27,000 kilometers an hour there, that second stage, with the first stage booster 1058.4 on, of course, I Still Love You in the Atlantic. So now we just stand by for Dragon separation, which will follow a very similar sequence to the crew missions where they will let a whole bunch of things, let everything sort of dampen out, get everything ready, and then about 11 and a half, 12 minutes after liftoff, pop, right off the top of the external thing. Is that a water cannon they are shooting at the booster, DOS, on the NASA
Wait a
feed?
second. A water cannon?
Are they shooting water at the on the NASA TV feed? Are they shooting water at the base of the booster?
I lost that. I don't
Yes,
see.
they totally
Yes, they
are.
are. Here we go. It's not on the SpaceX stream. It's only on the NASA stream right now. Sorry, we were using the SpaceX stream, which had 30 seconds less latency. But I see that on the NASA stream. Hang on, I got it. There we go. Bring that down. There you go. So there is a water cannon pointed at it.
Huh. Okay, so now they've added a water cannon to the drone ships. That's cool.
It's an automated water cannon. Look at that. It was pointing up and down. It's like a remote operated water cannon. Cool.
So cool. So cool.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe is this just a different camera? Like it's not on the railing where it normally is, and we just normally don't. See
and
that?
SpaceX is showing it now too. Or oh no, you
Yeah.
switch over to the NASA feed.
I did.
Right.
I switched over. Yeah.
Sorry, I saw a SpaceX person on there when I glanced down at my phone, and now I see Leah. Yeah.
Huh. I've never seen that before. I know
I've
that there
never
are water
seen that
cannons
either.
on there, but I've never
This
seen
is-
them in action. Yeah.
This is also one of the longest times we have stayed with the booster on the drone ship.
Yeah.
After its touchdown, this is real. This is really cool.
Some people asking
Wow.
why would they spray it with water? It's not on fire or anything like that. Maybe it's just a new process. Maybe something they're testing out. Maybe they're trying to cool down.
It's to prevent fires. In
Yeah.
case of you see this well, most visually you used to see him. Where's John Krause? You see this most visually in the shuttle program, right? When you would have an on-pad abort where the engine's lit and then shut down, and they would just start spraying water onto the vehicle, so that if anything leaked, if any hose ruptured, if any propellant line blew, you had some form of protection to prevent fires from spreading around the base of the vehicle. Which would be there goes Dragon. We have separation of cargo Dragon 12 minutes after liftoff, and you can see it pushing away from the top of the Falcon 9 second stage. You can see the Bishop airlock inside of it. Bye, Bishop.
Oh,
We'll see you
yeah.
again tomorrow as Dragon arrives at the International Space Station. And you can see the two fins that they left, right? The two aerodynamic fins that they don't really need, actually, but you can see the two that they left very clearly in that shot, and the corresponding two that were removed from the cargo variant. But there goes Dragon. safely in
cool.
orbit. That is really cool. And hey, folks, docking in 27 hours. How about that?
There you go. Marathon stream, Chris. You gonna stay out there for 27 hours till they dock?
Heck no, I'm gonna go
Heck
eat.
no. Again, y'all, the image you see on the screen right now is super cool because the Dragon has both external non-pressurized cargo, we call it the trunk, and internal cargo. So not only can they send up supplies and food and science that needs to maintain pressure, needs to have an atmosphere around it, needs to be temperature controlled. They put all that up in the capsule itself in the front. That view right there was amazing because that was looking in the open trunk of the Dragon, and the cargo in there in the big spot that's exposed to space, the trunk, that was that Bishop airlock we were talking about. So that was a fantastic view. As soon as I saw that they were giving us that, we had to put that on the screen because that was really, really cool to see. Whew. Okay. So we've got that's already spacecraft separation. Chris, I was like, oh, are we going to stay on until spacecraft separation? But that's already spacecraft separation. Dragon is flying free, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. Floating free. In fact, you can see it just there in profile before they switch back to the second stage. But yes,
Yeah.
that does complete the launch phase of our broadcast. If you are an NSF channel member who has access to our Discord, you can go into the SpaceX section of that Discord. There is the detailed launch to docking timeline for you, a perk to all of our members who have Discord access at that level. But you can see the whole sequence of burns, every single velocity change, how long the burns are going to be, everything up to the automated contact and capture tomorrow at 13:30 EST, 18:30 UTC for the automated docking of Dragon to the station.
Excellent. And y'all, just because we're getting ready to spool down this live stream doesn't mean that you have to not get any live streams to see. If you want to continue watching what's going on, the NSF Fleet Cam has been online 24/7 for something like, I don't know, 45 days. If anybody would know, I should, but I don't know the answer to that. A long time. I'm going to have to remove the alpha label from it from some port, but you can see the fairing catcher ship there at port and one of the crew recovery vessels that'll pick up a Dragon like this when it splashes down. I'd need to zoom in and tell you which one that is.
That is a great point that I hadn't talked about yet. Yes, the crew Dragon recovery ships, right?
Yep.
There's one for the Gulf and one for the Atlantic to protect for weather contingencies on landing days. But yes, one of them will actually be the one that goes out and grabs this capsule.
Yeah.
So
I'm actually
those
getting
same
some
ships. Yep.
close-up footage of that right now, and you can see the U-shaped crane on the back. That's actually what extends out over the water, and when a Dragon splashes down, that is the crane that attaches the Dragon, lifts it up out of the water, and then sort of slides it over onto the deck. There's a sliding rail system, and they'll put it on those rails, and they'll slide it up under there. That works for the crew Dragons as well. We've seen them doing a ton of practice out there at Port Canaveral with a ship just like this. I am going to geez, I cannot see the name on this one. I'd have to go and dig it up on marine traffic to tell you which one is sitting right there. But that is really cool. And that camera
It's
is also
Navigator.
live. It's Navigator. Thank you. I was just frantically bringing up the thing because I didn't know off the top of my head. All right. And not only is Fleet Cam online, but we are also going to be spooling up the stream live from South Padre Island. So we have been watching the Starship via another robotic camera installation that we have out there at South Padre Island down in Texas, just across the ship channel from Boca Chica, where you can see Starship and Starhopper. The little one on the left is Starhopper, standing tall in support of SpaceX's Starship operations out there at South Padre Island. So we will be bringing up that stream as well. That's probably going to be live 5 or 10 minutes after I shut this one down. I just have to hop over and fix that. But we will continue live coverage of all sorts of different events that are happening today. And then, of course, I got to say really quickly, Chris's camera out there, my favorite view of a launch pad at T plus whatever on launch day. There is no rocket there. Launch pad nice and healthy. We have that strong back retracted 45 degrees, showing that we were able to witness a launch not long ago. Chris, thank you so much for rolling out today and bringing us those live views from the Cape.
Oh, it's always my pleasure. Yeah, always my pleasure. Even those early morning ones. Love it. Wouldn't miss it.
Absolutely. So, again, y'all, we are going to be wrapping up the coverage here. A beautiful launch from beautiful Cape Canaveral, Florida today. Let's go through the crew. Chris Gebhardt out there in the field at the press site at Kennedy Space Center. Chris, thank you so much for joining us again today. You can see his information up on the screen there, y'all.
Yes, indeed. It was my absolute pleasure, Das. And yeah, in addition to those streams, the other things that we have set up over in Boca Chica, Texas, another way to support NSF, if you want to go to our store, NASASpaceflight.com/shop. We have a variety of stuff there that you can get for all your rocket goodness, like Dragon Endeavor shirts, like the one I am wearing, and Texas Tank Watchers, right? Which I think is a little bit more germane to what we're now moving into, right, Das?
We're going to stay with, even though that's a full Starship sitting on the pad right now, we're still going to all be proudly Texas Tank Watchers. There's tanks in the frame, there's tanks in the Starship. I'm not changing the Texas Tank Watcher name, I'll tell you that much.
Once a Texas Tank Watcher, always
a Texas Tank Watcher. Nice. Again, y'all, follow Chris over there on Twitter at ChrisG_NSF. Maybe somebody could put a link into chat on that. Also assisting back in the studio today, remote from California, Michael Baylor was doing a bunch of stuff behind the scenes. Didn't hear him on comms a lot, but that doesn't mean that he was super busy running the track with FleetCam. You could have seen the track that I switched to for FleetCam there and all the overlay magic that happens. Michael, thank you for joining us today as I stalled to make sure he was actually on comms.
Yes, I am here. Thank you.
Okay, good.
For joining everyone, and we're still working on figuring out the best way to track a rocket with FleetCam, but I'm pretty confident the next launch we're gonna have a good one.
I'm so
awesome.
Can we say, Michael? I mean, on FleetCam, the track that FleetCam had today was actually automated code you wrote.
Yeah, but we're having some calibration issues, I think. I'm actually not too happy with what happened today.
It was a little bit off. It had a great view at the beginning, but it sort of lost the track after a couple seconds, I think.
Yeah, well, it nails the start every time. We've got that down. But the fact that it starts so perfectly and then loses it is, I think, a sign. We do think the wood that the camera is mounted to might be swelling slightly. I don't know if that's enough air, but there's just some variable I have to track down that is causing it to lose the track later into flight. But I also have another system I'm working on, which I think might be better than auto track. So we have other options in the works.
At some point, we're going to have like a man versus machine contest where you can have some automated code that controls a robot, and then we'll have somebody there tracking it by hand, and we'll put the two tracks side by side and have a little contest. How's that sound?
Yeah, I think that. Well, I mean, all we need for that to happen is we need another robot, DOS.
We do need more robots. Chris is the guy in charge on Chris? Anybody?
Oh,
more
well,
robots?
all I was going to say, because people have like figured out that I drop things because that's part of NSF live stream bingo. We would totally set that up, and then like I would just fall and pull the whole camera thing down.
Both robot, like you would fall over sideways and you would knock the robot over, and the tracks would be like the grass in the sky and your foot in the air or something like that.
Pretty much, just because law of averages, right?
Again, y'all, we have a ton of fun with this. Michael Baylor doing so much work behind the scenes to make all these live streams happen. Michael, thank you so much. And
no problem.
Lastly, here from the NSF studio in Charlotte, North Carolina, which makes no sense because there's no rockets here. But whatever, it's how the internet works. I can bring up these feeds from anywhere. I am John Galloway, a host and producer for NASA's Spaceflight, guy who talks a lot. I know I have a mute button. I never use it. But I appreciate everybody joining us today for all these different fantastic bits of coverage we were able to bring you. We will continue live coverage, no commentary, but watch the Fleet Cam. That stream is live right now. And we will also, actually on Fleet Cam, I've got this view of Starship on Fleet Cam right quick. So it'll take me a couple minutes to spool up that live view from South Padre Island. And when we do that, we will have till sundown views of Starship and whatever testing are happening over there. We've got some closer cameras as well if there's actually a static fire or something like that. We know Mario rollout. Jack is out there with a video remote, other things.
DOS.
Yes.
The NASA TV feed. Oh my God, when they show the camera angle off the top of Falcon 9,
yeah,
they can still see Dragon every once in a while when they switch to it. You can still see Dragon floating out there. It's really cool. Anyway, yeah, just watch the feed. It's really cool.
Yeah. All right, but that is going to end this broadcast here. Oh, no, it's not. Chris, I said
Uh-oh.
earlier the question that I deferred until
Oh,
after.
yes,
Oh my gosh,
yes.
I am not going to stop the broadcast until we do that because I said we would. This was from Sandy AP. Wow, I'm not going to stop the broadcast. Is the current CRS-2 contract, or does the current CRS-2 contract last till the end of ISS, or is SpaceX going to go for new CRS-3 contracts? And is there cargo in the trunk for crew missions? I apologize that I almost forgot that one. So, is there
Yes.
CRS-3? And separate question, does crew have cargo in the trunk? Go ahead.
Okay. So there will almost certainly, so there will be one of two things, and we've already sort of seen one of them start. The first thing that will happen with the CRS-2 round of contracts, this is SpaceX's first. I think Northrop Grumman is on their third right now with the Cygnus that is birthed, second or third, with the one that is birthed to the International Space Station right now. Both companies have already gotten extensions on those CRS-2 round of contracts beyond the initial 6 missions that were granted to each of them. Which also includes a third one, Sierra Nevada Corporation with the Dream Chaser mini space shuttle, which will launch on a Vulcan rocket here as early as next year. But what happened at the end of the CRS-1 round of contracts, right, was there wasn't going to be, NASA sort of realized we need more cargo, we need more time to get to CRS-2, so we're going to extend the CRS-1 contracts for all of the providers. To bridge that gap towards CRS-2, once they realized what they needed, and once they knew, too, what the new requirements for the CRS-2 contract bids would be. Because NASA mandated external cargo capability from all of the providers on it, which they had not for CRS-1. So the first thing that will likely happen, which we've already seen with SpaceX and Northrop Grumman, is an extension of the CRS-2 contracts to ensure that everything out to 2024, which is when the actual contract ends, can be accounted for, right? And we'll likely see missions extending out beyond 2024 under the CRS-2 contract here in the next couple of years of those missions being turned on and authorized by NASA. Then almost certainly what we will see, because of the expansion to the stations, specifically with Axiom, right, is we will most likely see a CRS-3 round of contracts. Now, an interesting thing to watch for, though, with these cargo runs is, will Axiom start buying cargo missions from SpaceX as well? Because they're going to have a station that needs logistics just like the rest of the International Space Station. And the CRS contracts do not account for that commercial expansion of the International Space Station, which I would bet is going to be what we see with a CRS-3 round of contracts. Now, to be fair, CRS-3 has not been talked about. It is not official. That is me saying, hey, based on what they've done in the past and how long the station is going to last, we're going to need one, come one way or the other, right? Especially with the commercial expansion with Axiom. So there's that. Michael, correct me if I'm wrong. I do not believe there are any current plans to launch cargo in the trunks of crew missions, but nothing would preclude that as long as there's the available up mass, correct?
Yeah, I think up mass might be the problem, though. I'm not positive, but I think I remember hearing that.
Yeah. So they have no outright plan to do external cargo on crew flights, but they could if they needed to, basically.
Yeah.
All right. And then cargo in the trunk. Is there cargo in the trunk?
That's the one
we were just
that's the one we were just answering.
Okay, I apologize.
Yeah.
I'm doing so many things. I just wanted to make sure.
You're good. I appreciate you remembering there was a second question and that I likely would not remember it. Yes.
I'm trying to clean everything up here. I am literally running out of room. I've got 6 monitors, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's so many things going on between the robotic control, all the different chats, 2 stream servers that I'm running. I've got the queue that has all the questions and everything in it. I've got remote monitors that monitor your solo output and stuff like that. Network monitors that show me what all my incoming internet and bit rates and stuff like that is. And I've got program monitors so I can see what the server's putting out. I'm running out of room, Chris. I'm running out of ways to turn my head here. So
we need to get you that. Yeah, did you ever watch Parks and Recreation?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember that scene where they put Ron Swanson on the duty of having to talk to the public? So they get him a circular desk and he just keeps spinning around in the middle. That's what we need to get you, but like with monitors. Like
I'm actually like going to sleep at night and my neck kind of hurts. And I think it's from looking at all these monitors for so long while we monitor the streams. I now understand why in the NASA studio, they're at the Cape at the press site. They have that studio room, right? All
Yeah.
of their feeds are on a far wall. And I'm like, why don't they just put it on a monitor right in front of them? And it's because if you have monitors all around you, you're constantly moving. When all your video feeds are on a wall away from you, you can just glance with your eyes. You don't have to move your head. There you go. I guess it lets more people see it as well. But I I need an entire TV studio. You're right, Barry. Anyways, Chris, thank you for humoring me. That was my fault. We missed that last question. Don Marie McCormick and Grunwald with the new memberships there as well. All the different support that comes in, y'all. Thank you so much for letting us do this. But I think now we can actually let Chris pack it up and get on back home.
Sounds good, Das. I will sign off. This is Chris Gebhardt. We had a good launch of CRS-21. Onward to the docking tomorrow.
All right, folks, and stream's going to go ahead and shut down here. Fleet Cam's going to stay online with that view of Starship as well, and I will be working on starting another non-commentary stream so we can get that full view of Starship live from South Padre Island, just in case there's any testing that happens today, or if you just want a cool place to hang out and chat with other like-minded space nerds. We are doing it's almost like a community hangout just to hang out in the chat over there. So this is the broadcast signing off for like the 18th time. For real this time, I'm going to click the button and we will see you nerds later. Thank you so much for letting us have so much fun with all these broadcasts.
RCP chamber pressure looks good. Following up. Roger, roll, Atlantic. Flight downside, FP off. FP off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.